Hey everyone, in this episode we're going to be going over 10 tips on how to buy a Tesla Model X. Now, on its surface it seems like a no-brainer thing, so why make a video about it? Well, I thought we'd dive a little bit deeper into the ordering process and use some screenshots that I have through my process so you can understand what's going to happen when you order yours, or either a 3 or an X, because the 3s are coming out and a lot of people are going after those as well. But ordering a Tesla may seem simple, but it is not as easy as your Amazon shopping cart. And so I hope to share my story and some of the lessons learned to make it easier for you to go ahead and do your ordering. Tip number one, decide on everything up front. This goes hand in hand with the difficulty of seeing your quote unquote shopping cart. If I scroll down here, this is a copy of how I ordered mine. I configured it for the 90D, and you can see that it gives me a summary of what my cost is going to be. But in order to see a summary of what I've actually ordered, I have to scroll down and keep scrolling. And you can see that everything that I have is checked, but you can't see an overview of everything. So let's go ahead and look at how either your Amazon or other vendors may do it. So you can see that BMW has a list of everything that I checked off, and I basically checked this one off to be almost equivalent in functionality or capabilities as the Model X. And you can see that it lists out all the individual prices. Now, this is important because the first thing you do after you order is you get this wonderful thank you mail. And in the thank you mail, it actually has a summary of all your items. And it also has something called the Motor Vehicle Purchase Agreement. This is how they're going to build your car. There is no other, gospel or canonical document that says, hey, add this. If it's not here, it's not going to be on the car. So when you're looking at making edits to your car, it has to be listed on the Motor Vehicle Purchase Agreement, but they only produce the Motor Vehicle Purchase Agreement twice. Once when you first or initially order it, and the second is after you accept all of what you've ordered 7 days after your initial purchase. Any changes in between there don't get sent back to you for audit. You can't see them. And the mail that you get is actually after you've accepted it, quote unquote. So there is no interim review of your shopping cart. There is a first time, and then there's a too late. This is what you get. So if you want to actually figure out whether you've made a change, in this case I added the 72 amp charger, I'll talk more about that later, it's very difficult to do. You don't get that additional email or confirmation or even a list that the thing that you ordered is correct. Now this is very important because it's actually been known for people to actually change the color of their car without knowing it, because if you go back over here to the order Tesla, all you have to do is do something like that, and while you're doing some other functionality, and there's nothing that tells you that you've changed the color. It's not reflected here in the summary. It takes a lot of pictures, it shows you lots of pictures, but there's nothing that actually gives you a summary of all the things that you've ordered. So that's tip number one. Decide on everything up front, because doing it right the first time and then just waiting 7 days and accepting it is the easiest, low stress way that you can do this. Other than that, you're going to have to go back and forth with the sales rep to try to make sure that the changes that you want have taken effect. So mock it up, model it out, but when you're ready to order, just order it right the first time. Tip number two, decide on those weird or hard to figure out add-ons up front. So you can notice here that I have the 72 amp charger highlighted. That is the thing that had me change my order during that 7-day period, and which kind of enlightened me into the difficulty in changing the motor vehicle purchase agreement and actually getting a summary of it. So, there's some different information on the internet whether or not 72 amp charger is worth it or not. I just wanted to take a quick thing to show you that my Tesla actually came back in. I got in late one night, like 1:20 in the morning or something like that. And 3 hours and 30 minutes later, or whatever, from almost a dead battery, it was 50 miles left on it, it was completely charged. So the thing that actually shows you this is the Tesla charging. You can look at this is impossible. So I set this to 210 miles. That's how many miles I burnt through. So if you're looking at recharging that, it takes 64 hours on a standard 110 volt. Now let's go to a 240 volt. It's now cut to 7 hours. Still way too long. Now if you go with a wall connector, you're up to 3 hours, and that's with the dual charger, right? Single charger, it's still at 70 amps. So you can see this is my configuration, a 100 amp circuit, 80 amp wall charger. That's what I got, 3 hours and 30 minutes. So the calculator is just dead on as far as what your charge time is going to be. And this is something that you want to do some looking into, whether it's this or the trailering or other sorts of add-ons. Decide these up front because it's going to take some research. All right, tip number 3, oddly enough, underbuy. So the reason I'm recommending underbuying is the tax and hidden fees implication on purchase of your new Tesla may not be completely apparent. And when you're talking about a car that runs upwards of $100,000, it can actually be quite large. You can see here that line D is sales tax. Now, I actually had Ricky Ricardo mention that there's no sales tax in New Jersey. Now, whether or not you get back to your home state and they don't charge you sales tax and a whole bunch of other things, I'm not a tax attorney or accountant, so I have no idea. But understanding your sales tax implications is a huge issue. It looks like it's at least $5,000. And Homer Bloody Simpson, who's another subscriber in Australia, said the tax implications in Australia are completely different. So understanding what is going to be part of your settlement as far as taxes and fees. There are hidden fees, like I had no idea that Virginia charged a electronic vehicle fee, which is $64, or otherwise known as 11 cents times 12,000 miles per year equals $64, and you get to pay that all up front. So that's a special tax for us here in Virginia. This is a kind of a pro forma, or what you would see when you did an agreement and an invoice, and this is what a financing company would use. So this is a quick tour down what your other sorts of charges may be. I would work with your Tesla dealer to figure out exactly what those would be for your area. So tip number 4, compare to other or possible alternative SUV CUVs to the Model X. This falls more into the category of allowing you to sleep better at night and knowing that you made the right decision. It certainly did for me. You can see here, this is a X5 BMW. I put a similar sort of car up with all the accessories that were about comparable to the Tesla Model X. And you can see that the price there is $88,500. So $88,500, you say, well, that's not equivalent to the $113,000 that you paid, Dean, for the the Model X, MSRP to MSRP. And that's true. There's about a $25,000 difference, but then you subtract out the $7,500 rebate, and then you subtract out the about $6,000, maybe $5,000 savings in gas over the next 5 years, and you're closer to $11,500 difference between the two cars. So at that point, it becomes pretty much a no brainer. They're equivalent. It really comes down to a personal preference and what type of car you want to drive. I decided to go no gas, no ice, and have decided all of our vehicles are either diesel to support biodiesel, or that's the reason why we tipped the scales and went with a Tesla Model X. Tip number 5, do your own TCO. As I kind of covered in tip number 4, if you compare a BMW with a Tesla, there's a great URL out there called Teslanomics under Tesla Rumors, and it puts up BMW versus the Model S. And you can get a pretty good idea of how they break out as far as depreciation, repairs, costs, gas, everything like that. Um, we did our own TCO. I had information about how much we spent on car repairs and such forth over the last 10 years. And it actually ended up being the point that I was going to save about $5,000 to $10,000 based on my historical labor, repair, maintenance cost, and gas with a BMW 7 Series. So comparing 7 Series to a Model X, I was going to save a lot more money and have a really cutting edge car. So doing your own TCO with your own financials or using tools such as this, again, goes into the you're going to sleep great at night.